Hello and welcome to today's AWS Industry Council discussion, a platform for industry leaders to share insights and collaborate. My name is David Fodor from the Financial Services team at AWS. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay my respects to the elders both past and present. I'm honoured to welcome the panel today with me, including Vaughan Dixon, who is the CIO of Humm-Group, Andrew Mason, who is the Head of Infrastructure, also of Humm-Group, and Nick Dennison, Client Principal at CMD Solutions. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Today, we're going to discuss how Humm-Group, supported by CMD Solutions, have utilised modernisation on AWS to deliver stronger customer experiences and differentiation in market. Let's set the scene a little bit before we open up the conversation. The macro environment today is becoming increasingly challenging. Input costs continue to rise, impacting the profitability of businesses across all industries. Here at AWS, we work with many organisations around the world who seek to change the nature of their business. And part of that equation is removing tasks that represent non-differentiating activities. Running data centres is exactly one of those tasks. Separate to this challenge is an organisation's ability to grow and scale its business over time, effectively managing the inertia created by legacy architecture and application sprawl. Today, we're going to hear from a wonderful AWS customer who is working hard across both of these paradigms and who has been making impressive progress with the help of an amazing technology partner. Firstly, a warm welcome to the Industry Council session to Vaughan, Andrew and Nick. Thank you very much for joining us today. Vaughan, I'm going to start with you. Can you give the audience a bit of a sense of the background of the Humm-Group, what it's all about, what it represents?
Yeah, I can. So Humm-Group has been around for about 35 years. Now that surprises a lot of people. It's a long time. We like to say we're the oldest fintech that's been around for a while. We basically operate across 5 regions. So we're Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, UK, and we're also in Canada. And we like to be known as basically the preferred way to make bigger ticket purchases. So that's like if you want to put solar on your roof, if you want to get furniture, or you want to get that diamond ring that you want to get for an engagement present, and you want a way to fund that and finance that, That's what we want to do.
Okay. So it sounds very much to me that you talked about 35 years and now different lines of business across that consolidated entity. Sounds like through some both organic and inorganic growth, it's become a big organisation with some legacy to it. Paint the picture of what that means when it comes to the challenges across, both the run of the business and the change of the business agendas. What do those things look like?
Yeah, look, it's a good one. I mean, my current CEO has a comment, which is, if you took a bowl of spaghetti and you threw it against the wall, that's what our current environment looks like.
Right.
So it's a bit like, we've got 3 different areas. We've got 6 different data centres across Australia and New Zealand. Yep. We don't know what's in a lot of those data centres because everybody's always been afraid to turn things off. Yep. So we've been working through that, and part of our whole transformation towards the AWS actually is to force us to go in and see what we got, and we're not lifting and shifting. We're actually, how do we set that up into a new world?
Okay.
So for us, it's a challenge. Lucky I've got some brains with me that actually is driving a lot of this, but that is the challenge that we take.
Nick, I'll bring you in. Is that a common problem statement that you see in the industry today?
Yeah, 100%. I'd say a lot of financial services organizations, especially large enterprises, are looking to utilize modernization at scale to take away complexity in the operations layer, which is really about enabling their people to then create differentiation in market, stronger customer experiences, and stronger focus on the activities that matter.
Okay. So I'll turn to you, Andrew. Can you tell us a little bit about the options that you considered to address the challenges that Humm-Group faced to grow efficiently over time?
Well, we had a number of different platforms, as Vaughan indicated. We specifically chosen to transform some of them, do a full transformation, and then others that wasn't really an approach that we could take. And I think part of the value specifically for AWS that we get out of AWS is it allows us to do that. So we didn't have to rewrite all of our applications. We didn't have to rework all of the systems. And at our scale, it's not possible to do that. Like this stuff takes time.
Yep.
And so being able to take it piecemeal and say, okay, well, for this particular system, we can transform it. For another one, we can bring that to AWS in a way that makes sense.
Yep.
We'd had conversations initially to say, look, we're not going to treat this as another data center. We want to make use of the platform, the functionality that AWS provides.
Yep.
Because that has an operational impact to us.
Yep.
And so having the opportunity to pick and choose where we did that was the primary driver.
It's interesting that you talk about not considering a platform like a public cloud, a hyperscaler cloud such as AWS as another data center. In the industry, do you think that that's like a common line of thought? I just wonder whether, today organisations might think that, cloud's just another, replica of what we've got, but just, off-prem.
No, and I continue to see a big shift towards actually seeing cloud as a business-driven initiative as opposed to a technology-driven initiative. And testament to that is organisations taking more of a modernization approach and not just having technology teams lead that, but also bringing in more business-focused personas into that journey. And what we're seeing is more focus on looking at applications getting the most out of cloud, so being more cloud native, plus also adopting things like continuous delivery and DevOps. So that way you're really bringing those product and business teams closer to technology and really getting the most out of what AWS and cloud have to offer.
Okay. Vaughan and Andrew, there's lots and lots of options out there for technology partners, particularly those that are proficient with building with AWS services and everything goes around. Why CMD?
We had a number of recommendations. First of all, from our AWS representative, we had industry partners, other people that we work with in the industry who had recommended CMD and said that they had a really good experience, positive experience, which obviously counts for a lot. Yep. In addition to that, when we'd had an initial conversation with them, they had highlighted a lot of the areas of concerns that we had, particularly being a publicly traded company in the finance industry, having that proven track history with other financial organisations. That was really a big bonus and a big driver for us choosing them. Yeah,
do you see technology partners who've had some experience with dealing with regulated institutions as being one of the differentiators?
Look, it was, and I think the other thing for us is somebody who can partner with us and take us on that journey. Yep. So part of the challenge for us is our team are used to data centres. They're not used to like a cloud world. And as we said, we didn't want to go lift and shift. We actually wanted to transform how we run the business. Yep. And we needed somebody to guide us through that. So somebody who's done it, they know what they're doing, they can bring our team on that journey. Yep. And we do that now. We still the work we're doing with CMD, we leverage them to help where we have weaknesses. Yep. To try and help bring that team up, and they actually are really quite good at that. I mean, the knowledge share and the transfer is a massive plus.
The partner component is really important there. We intentionally wanted a partner. We had tried previously to do this ourselves. In another area, we'd tried outsourcing the entire thing, and we'd had mixed results, but neither of them really gave us what we wanted. And so what we wanted was someone that, to Vaughan's point, can take us on the journey, can help us, but also we know our systems, we know what we need, we know our capabilities and what we're expected to do. And that's just not something that you can outsource.
So Nick, 35-year-old organisation, grown up through organically scaling, some inorganic acquisition-based growth, some complexity in a relatively mature and complex legacy environment. When the team came to you, what sort of opportunity did you see in that context for transforming the business? How did you think about that?
Yeah, awesome. Firstly, it started off with, I'm going to put emphasis on the fact that Humm-Group were looking for a partner, and that's definitely how we want to operate as well. Vaughan mentioned some aspects around knowledge sharing, but it's just as much the other way around too. So us getting to know the nuances and things that make Humm-Group special and the things that make Humm-Group function, and then translating that to what we're going to recommend as a solution. So for us, that was a huge opportunity because when we're talking about modernization at scale, you're not just talking about a big change in technology, you're also changing the way that people work and people function day to day. Yep. So being able to partner, firstly, was one of the most important things for us to deliver successful outcomes.
Yep.
The other aspect is around just looking at the prior complexity of their environment, so disparate systems, disparate platforms, and the opportunity to consolidate that and create a more simple mode of leveraging technology and capability for the business to enable them to move faster, be more secure, and also be more predictable from an operations perspective.
Okay. Give us a sense of some of the particular challenges that you encountered through that, that program, particularly given the nature of the Humm-Group business. I understand that, for example, the PCI DSS obligations are quite extreme. Tell us a little bit about those challenges and how you navigated those.
So obviously security and compliance, business resiliency, all those aspects are hypercritical to Humm-Group as they function as a business.
Yep.
And definitely had to be embedded in our approach. And then when we're looking at the complexity, it's also about the fact that we're doing modernization. It's at scale. It's a program of work. So how we phase out that approach was also highly critical to its success. So one thing which made Humm-Group, I guess, especially complex is around the modernization of their Oracle databases.
Okay.
That required us to do a proof of concept to validate the approach and to validate that it would work, which obviously was very important to ensuring a very seamless transition into cloud, keeping in mind that the infrastructure and applications that we're modernizing were supporting key services and functions for the business.
Yep.
Just adding to that, I think it was for us, our card system, so we do credit cards as well. So one of those card systems, I think we were the first deployment of that system into a cloud environment.
Yep.
So it was for us, it had to be, will it work? Can we get it set up? And that's what they helped us through on that POC.
Yeah.
To get that comfort level before you take that next step to say, well, actually, is this going to be possible?
Yeah. And we'd had several conversations where we were categorically told this won't work.
Yeah.
You cannot move this to a cloud environment. And, it sort of speaks to that flexibility that I was talking about, because AWS gave us those services, those platforms that we could leverage to be able to do that. And
Yeah, 100%. And look, this isn't so much a complexity, more of an opportunity, but the idea that you're adopting new technologies and new ways of working, working with Humm-Group's people to uplift their skill set, get more comfortable with the new technologies to make sure that when we do hand over, they're comfortable to keep it running and improving it moving forward.
Yep. And you talked about a POC type approach to, hard problem statements like Oracle database as an example.
Yep.
What do those, just, at a very concept high level, what do those POCs look like in terms of time frame and people involved? And
so the actual build components, that was probably not too long, like a few weeks in terms of actual effort.
Yep.
It's more the validation and testing, ensuring that, hey, this works. Yes, we can hand on heart say that when we start to do this at scale and in production, no critical issues will occur.
Yep.
So it was quite a quick POC, but yes, there were sort of periods of testing, periods of discovery that needed to happen, which added to the time frame.
Yep. Andrew, is that a sort of approach that you adopt generally through your transformation programs, that particularly when it comes to big things that you can't afford to fail?
The answer is yes, but in this instance, because we're categorically told this thing won't work.
Yeah.
We came in with not a lot of options. It was in the middle of the pandemic, so we needed to move off of our current platform, but actually physically getting hardware to the data center was a challenge at that point. There was supply chain issues, so we had a bit of trepidation going in just to make sure that we could validate it. And it's not just a regular database either. There are tie-ins to file systems and things like that.
Yep.
Fortunately, AWS actually has accounted for all of these situations, and so it turned out to be relatively easy. But we certainly had enough indicators that we needed to take a cautious approach.
Okay.
We do the POCs quite a bit. So for one of our other systems, we did a POC to check the volume out as well.
Yeah.
I think the challenge here was, if somebody said to Andrew we couldn't do it, that's like a red flag to a bull, like I'm going to prove them wrong.
That's great. Love it. Obviously, we've talked broadly around technology, the transformation program itself, and focused on the technology elements of that. Importantly, at the end of the line, it's all about delivering value to the business. Can you tell us a little bit more about the sorts of business benefits you're seeing so far as you go through this sort of cloud-enabled transformation program?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things around that. One is the change in the way that we operate as well, which has made some massive changes. So if you look at our change release process, and we've done some changes over the last 3 months, since that's mainly all through the pipeline deployments and for service. A number of deployments has increased significantly, so we're able to get more change through quicker. But also our number of issues has reduced down significantly. So straight out, that's a massive win for us, and that comes through in the numbers. So the stuff that we're reporting on. A lot of the work that we're doing with our cards platform through to AWS, we're in the final stages of that. So it's like testing is the big part of it, just to make sure we've got everything right. But through that program, what we've also done is removed a lot of single point dependencies where knowledge was in the head of 1 or 2 people.
Okay.
And we've got that onto a wider group.
Okay.
And we're also in a scenario now where once we do get that across, we can just spin them up and we can drop them away. So one of our fraud systems, I think the guys could blow it away and bring it back up again in a few hours. Yeah.
Yep.
That was just not possible previously.
Yep.
The biggest thing for me though is the risk. So it's the risk mitigation for us.
Okay.
So the fact that we have it into an environment that we can scale up and down. So as our business grows, then we can actually size it correctly. Yep. Rather than where we are at the moment, where we're sort of blocked into squares and how do I make it fit within that piece of hardware.
Got it. Andrew, anything further do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that highlights all of our data center, because we don't have the flexibility that AWS provides. Every workload is treated the same whether we need it to be scaled up or not. And our services that do need to scale horizontally, we have to size everything according to our largest need. So that has cost implications as well, particularly when you're talking data centers. You've got to rack up the servers, you've got to manage all of those. Yeah. If you want to go international, that means that you then have to physically acquire data centers or space in data centers in those regions. You've got to have people in those regions, and the business value for us isn't really there.
Yeah. Knowing now things that you didn't necessarily know at the start of your program, anything that you do completely differently?
So what I'd do next time is, before we even started the project, I would send all of our staff that were going to be involved into it onto some training. We'd work out who was interested in making the change.
Yeah.
Because we had an issue where a lot of our team were actually just afraid of the new technology.
Yep.
And we didn't think about that because we sort of thought most developers want to use the new technology. So, but for some, we didn't. So I would actually send them off, train them, get them up to speed, get them comfortable before we even start the process. That would be my big take-home.
Okay, yeah. Andrew, anything further from you?
Again, with the people, I think probably what we discovered is we had a little bit more risk than we thought we did in a few areas. And that came back to our understanding of our applications and our workload. Yeah. And CMD pushed quite hard initially to say, hey, what does this look like? What does this workload look like? And in hindsight, for us being unable to actually provide answers to that probably was the first warning sign. Yep. So I'd spend a little bit more time getting familiar with our applications, making sure that our teams actually understood our applications. Because ultimately, it was only when we went to automate those, and particularly automating the deployment of those, that we found that we didn't understand them as well as we thought we did.
Okay. And just picking up on Vaughan's point before about skills and experience with cloud, is that what's your perspective on that? I mean, on our side, we see that still as a bit of a handbrake to building and maintaining momentum of programs over time. Are you still seeing that element as well?
Look, funnily enough, with most customers, there's always a challenge with getting them to sort of stop and think about upskilling their team members. Yeah. And a lot of that's due to competing priorities. Everyone's busy, and the inability to sort of take out key resources for a couple of weeks or however long to get them properly upskilled. With Humm-Group, we did follow a dual upskill and delivery model because that's a little bit more flexible. It allows you to upskill on the job, but definitely having a more formal-based training program is definitely something we recommend in parallel to that.
Yeah, look, for me, it's a wonderful story. Just demonstrating the power of a strong partnership and a bit of a tri-party, customer, technology partner and platform together, the things you can do and the momentum you can build through an enterprise-wide technology transformation program. Thank you for sharing. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
That brings us to time on our discussion today. Vaughan and Andrew and Nick, I just want to thank you for your time and for providing us with your thoughts and your awesome insights into the way that you've managed through the program, and best of luck, continuing into the future. And to the audience, thank you for joining and spending time with us today. We hope that you've enjoyed the discussion and been able to glean some insight to apply to your own transformation journey. Please reach out to CMD if you need help ensuring that your transformation investments are delivering the maximum impact. Thank you again, and see you next time.